We do research at the Center for Disease Control on all kinds of situations that result in human injury and death. We research accidents. We research all kinds of things that put people at peril. And so understanding the circumstances of gun violence, the kinds of things that might deter or prevent gun violence, this is perfectly within the purview. There wasn't any question, I think, the motivation years ago when Representative Dickey, put that in a House Appropriations bill that this kind of study would be forbidden. Jay Dickey later repented of that. He's now deceased, but he said he wasn't meaning to shut down all research on gun violence, but that's, of course, what happened. Now the president himself has put it in his budget.
What are they trying to accomplish with this? Is the notion that just anything that might lead to someone suggesting that we need to restrict guns in any way is what the NRA is concerned about there?
I think that's right. I mean, how else can you interpret it? Why would you fence off a legitimate area of research that could save lives unless you're just kowtowing to the gun lobby and their ideology, of course, that the right of an individual to have any kind of weapon he desires is paramount and trumps everything else? It doesn't make sense. And I've for years, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, and I for years tried to remove that so-called Dickey Amendment from our appropriations bills, and we will try again, believe me. But usually it's been added from the congressional side, left it to Mr. Trump, I guess, to propose it on his own.
One last gun question, which has come up here in North Carolina, is this notion of arming teachers. My wife is a former school teacher who was telling me the other day she was preparing to write a letter to the editor about how crazy this idea was, but I said, oh, honey, don't worry about it too much. But then I read in the paper that it's actually being discussed by our state lawmakers, at least at some level. I wonder if you have any reaction to this idea.
I think it's a terrible idea. I believe when the state lawmakers, as they say, are going to have a discussion of this and other ideas, I believe there will be plenty of evidence that this is not the way to go. We do need better security at schools. We need law enforcement presence in some cases. We need security officers in some cases. I mean, when you think about the mental illness side of this, which is, of course, an important aspect, although I think a lot of people use it to kind of hide behind and avoid facing the gun aspect and the fact that, every country in the world has lots of people in distress with anger and all the rest, but they don't turn into mass killers. The easy access to these weapons is the American feature that I believe needs to be the heart of the matter. But no question, we have defunded and I think de-emphasized mental health to this country's detriment. The kind of presence we should have for nurses and people with mental health training in the schools and the kind of things we ought to be able to do to deal with troubled young people and get their problems dealt with as early as possible. Of course we need to do that, and the schools would be the setting for that. But I don't see any evidence that this country or this state is willing to make this kind of investment. But that's the sort of thing that would really make a difference.